Hey, this is Namdev, Hardesty, the MVA studio. Today I want to talk a little bit about why I have students in my typography classes copy older works, and what I think the value in that is, because I think it's a little bit counterintuitive and it's only something I started doing recently. So for years I've given out an assignment that I call codes, where I give a short lecture on a historical period of typography, like maybe Renaissance typography, early modernism, Swiss typography, whatever it is. And then I give the students modern content like a poster, a record cover, whatever it is, and then have them attempt to design using this sort of codified gestures of that particular typographic movement. So if it's Renaissance typography, it's going to be centered axis. Serif typography, it's going to be whatever your Jensen typeface or something like that. A certain type of use of white space and certain approach to hierarchy. It's always been my theory that what would happen is that the really good conceptual, formally sort of gifted students would do the worst on this project. My assumption being that they would be bored out of their minds, and that maybe the students that struggled a little bit with the stuff where they're more out in the wilderness, that they'd actually do better because it would be sort of more clearly defined. What continuously happens, though, is that those students that are sort of like my best students, they always do the best in this assignment out of like their classmates. And I don't think it's because they're trying to impress me. I think what it turns out is that attention to detail is crucial to being sort of formally gifted and towards like executing really great ideas. And so these people who have a natural tendency towards detail see it in other work and they're able to sort of nail what's happening. And then on top of that, because they can do that, it means they're able to better imbue their own work with certain like references or visual codes, so that like if there is some sort of reference to the elegance of Renaissance typography, they're able to nail that even if the thing doesn't look like Renaissance typography, as opposed to the student who just uses a serif typeface and centers it, and really it looks more like a Microsoft Word typewritten report. So what I've started to do now is actually to use the codes assignment to first have the students do a straight up pastiche of an existing work. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, because they have to pick a work to pastiche to make this exact copy of, which already is like putting them in this field of like analyzing certain things more closely. But then the other thing they have to do is they're not allowed to sort of trace it. Like they can't put it in InDesign and then design on top of it. They have to like kind of place it on the pasteboard and then eyeball everything from the dimensions to the type size to the leading. And as expected, the students who are strongest in making really beautiful things, they excel at doing this. And the students that are weakest struggle with it. But since I've moved from an interpretation to a straight pastiche, what I've noticed is that those students who struggle with it, you can then like point out something that's happening with the leading or with the tracking, and they're like, oh, whoa, I didn't even notice that. And then like their attention to detail starts to build up. I point out all of this because I am busy trying to fill classes for MCAD, and I have an intro to typography class that's going to run June 12th into early August, late July, I can't remember now. You'll have to go to the-mva.com/teach to learn more about it. But the model that we use is week 1, we look at a historical style, we do a pastiche. Week 2, we do an interpretation, and then we do what I call a stress test, which is usually that we make some kind of publication that needs to incorporate elements of that style, but needs to be something that like that you sort of own and you believe in. So it's no longer a straight pastiche. If you're new to typography, I think it's a really valuable class. If you don't know much about typographic history, but you're experienced with type, it can be a valuable class. And maybe if you have gone through a academic program where you did a lot of sort of experimentation with type, but not a lot of study of it, it could be a valuable class for you. The experience I've had teaching it has been really great, and I think it's a valuable class. So to learn more about my intro to typography class at MCAD, it's the-mva.com/teach. And you can follow the MVA on Twitter. We're at the MVA, like motor vehicle accident. Or you can follow me. I'm at Namdev, Namdev. Thanks a lot.